All right, so today we're going to be moving on and looking at the fallacies of presumption, the fallacies of presumption. And so you'll want to have your worksheet close by because that is going to be what your homework is, as well as you'll probably want to take notes as we walk through this. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen so you're able to see the PowerPoint on my screen. And I'm also going to click, okay, we've already got that ready to go. So we're going to go back here at the very beginning of the fallacies of presumption. Just like last time when we were talking about the fallacies of relevance, in the case of every one of the fallacies we looked at, the conclusion wasn't relevant to the argument that was made. Kind of like a train going down the track and then getting derailed somewhere along the way. In the case of the fallacies of presumption, the conclusion that the speaker wants the listener to draw is usually somewhere in the in either the argument itself and the formulation before you get to the conclusion, or it's simply assumed. And so we'll be looking at a few of these, and a couple of these I think you'll notice are very, very, very common. And so these are unwarranted leaps from presuppositions, fallacies of presumption. So let's look at the first one. This is fairly common. The complex question is what this is known as. I actually don't have a definition for you on this one. I think it's just fairly obvious. The definition, if you were to come up with a definition, would be something along the lines of a question that presupposes a conclusion that the speaker wants the listener to draw within the question. So. And by the way, interrogation rooms, oh man, they have actually training in complex questions. So bring the guy in for questioning, and then they ask all sorts of questions. When did you stop beating your wife? Oh gosh, well, unless you say that the question isn't true, that the question is faulty, and you agree with whatever, when did you stop beating your wife? Well, you know, it was last Thursday, actually, when I think about it. You know, that was the last good beating. Now that was just terrible. I'm sorry. That was supposed to be a joke. It wasn't good. I apologize. Or you could say something along the lines of, actually, I'm beating her right now on the phone. You know. And so either way that you answer the question, you are accepting the conclusion that the person asking the question wants you to accept. And so that is a fallacy. Have you stopped cheating yet this year? Here's one that is a little bit more complicated. Emily's shaking her head. No, I haven't stopped cheating yet this year. Emily, have you started cheating yet this year? Emily, when will you start cheating this year? Complex questions, aren't they great? Politicians, here's one. How many school shootings should we tolerate before we change the gun laws? What is the presumption in this question? Ian, what's presumed here?
That we should tolerate any school shootings at all?
Nope.
That we should change gun laws?
Because the gun laws and the school shootings are directly linked, right? That's really what they're trying to get you to conclude, right? Okay, 99.999% of people do not think we should tolerate school shootings. They're bad. But here in this question is you're tying this, you're presupposing that gun laws directly have some sort of a causational relationship with school shootings. And maybe they do. I'm not saying they don't. But you can't just presuppose that it is the case. You have to make the argument. And by hiding it in this question, you miss it. You miss something that needs to be proven. Does that kind of make sense? It's a little bit more complex than the two previous ones. Have you tried to stop watching too much television? No matter what you say here, you're admitting you watch too much television. So unless you come along and say the question is a bad question, or the question is presupposing something that's not true, then you can fall into the trap. Does this make sense? How many of you see that this is like, yep, this happens, I've seen it happen. In fact, if you remember the Jordan Peterson, Kathy Newman interview, yeah, that happened several times. And if you can probably imagine, it kind of came from one direction. Okay, false cause. This is one of the most common fallacies that you will run into. False cause is used very, very regularly all over the place. And it's the assumption or the presuming that some sort of correlation automatically equals causation. Now, sometimes correlation and causation are completely tied together, but not always. So here's an example. SAT scores have fallen ever since prayer has been abolished from schools. Okay, that's interesting. But is that the cause for SAT scores falling? That prayer was abolished? I would suggest that probably is not related to the falling SAT scores. But regardless, you have to make the argument. Money makes people arrogant. Okay, well, there may be a correlation there, but you have to prove causation. You can't just presume it. So the logical form of false cause would be something along the lines of A occurred and then B occurred. Therefore, A caused B. Now, don't get me wrong. Everything that we experience has causes, right? However, the point of highlighting this fallacy is that we don't want to, because we're so used to finding and explaining things by understanding that A does oftentimes cause B, that simply if there is a correlation, there is a causation. This is a fallacy that my children use all the time.
Care to give an example of your children?
Yeah, something along the lines of, hey, Daddy, I dreamed this last night. You know, I dreamed that there was a great big spider. I think there must be a spider downstairs, right? You know, I dreamed the spider, and then I saw a spider, so that my dream must have caused it. But yeah, I mean, it's fairly common. And then there's another common one coming up here that my children use all the time. It's officially called begging the question, but we typically, outside of the sort of official level of logic, tend to use the term rather than begging the question. We typically tend to call this circular reasoning. The Bible says it's God's word. God would never lie or be wrong. Therefore, I can trust whatever the Bible says to be true. Claim X assumes that X is true. Therefore, claim X must be true. How many of you have heard this sort of reasoning before? This sort of circular reasoning? Yeah, and this is one of my children's favorite fallacies. They do this all the time. To the point where I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. Just whatever. Hey, Daddy, can we stop and get some ice cream? Because I really, really like ice cream, and it'll make me, you know, a lot happier. I'll be more focused because I really like ice cream. Can we have some ice cream? I need ice cream. I suppose you could argue that that could be false cause too in that reasoning. Probably the easiest way to spot a circular reasoning fallacy is to look at the premises. And if there is something that is asserted in the premises that also shows up to be concluded, then what you have is a circular reasoning fallacy. Okay, here's another example, and this was one of my students. It was really funny. In fact, even the conclusion is circular. All bikes have two wheels. My bike has two wheels. Therefore, my bike is a bike. I thought that was ridiculous and really funny. You don't have to write it down. False dichotomy. You are either with God or against him. You either absolutely love America and you are a patriot and you wave the flag every day of your life, or you are an evil leftist Marxist. Remember one time I heard Ben Shapiro. You guys know who Ben Shapiro is? He was talking one time about the teaching of American history in schools. Either you use American history to demonize our past and to demonize our values, or you use our history to praise America and to show why we're the greatest nation on earth. See how that's a false dichotomy? I would say that's such a blatant false dichotomy because it's ignoring the entire, for those of you who had me as a history teacher, and the vast majority of you have, what's the whole purpose of history? Is it to use it as a tool to praise America or to trash America? Is that the purpose of history?
Nope.
No, no historian worth their salt at all looks at using history as a tool. Rather, the purpose of history is to attempt to understand the past for its own sake, not for using it as some sort of a political, economic, religious, whatever tool. Okay, logical form, either A or Z is true, but it turns out there's a whole other alphabet and it could be a lot of other things too. Now, sometimes there is a dichotomy that's not false, right? That is possible, where you only literally have two options, and that's not a false dichotomy at all, because you literally only have two options. But a lot of times, people basically cut out a lot of the possibilities with the false dichotomy. Okay, here is the accident or the generalization. Boys are better than girls at basketball. Therefore, Johnny will beat Susie at basketball. And this is fairly commonly used as well, right? So, and obviously when you have two people discussing with each other, there can be some confusion. So in the case of most things that we experience in life, there are usually exceptions to the rule, right? We make generalizations, and some people might even use the word stereotypes, but look, we generalize everything. You have to if you want to talk about things, right? But in most cases, there are exceptions to rules. Not in every case, but in most cases. And so when you take a general rule and apply it specifically, assuming that there are no exceptions, then you may be committing the fallacy of accident. In the Jordan Peterson, Kathy Newman argument that you guys watched, we saw this several different times. Jordan Peterson basically was talking about things in general. He would say, well, the data on this is pretty clear. Why? Because we have looked at, many different social experiments and surveys to see that women in general are more agreeable than men are in general. Now, of course, I don't even know if you use the word in general, that women are more agreeable than men. It's obvious, though, that can there be exceptions to that? I would say yes. And that was implied with the way that Jordan Peterson was speaking about it, because he was talking about general surveys. And so then Kathy Newman would respond by applying it specifically, right? She would say, so are you saying that women should just all give up and because they're never going to get that raise just because they're not as assertive as men? That, you know, are you saying that I should just go play with my Cindy dolls? And he's like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. You know, there are, and then he points it out and he uses her as an exception. He says, my guess is that you on the assertiveness or on the agreeableness scale probably wouldn't score too high because she's a pretty disagreeable person, right? And so she herself proves that that was a generalization and yet she was applying it specifically. You guys realize how much more they could have actually talked about if they weren't fighting over fallacies for half of the stinking interview?
Yeah.
Like they could have actually got to interesting things rather than her committing mostly, and he did actually commit a couple fallacies too. But largely it was on Kathy Newman's part that she was just using one fallacy after another, attempting to trap him and make him look bad.
It's easier to ignore Peterson's fallacies when he, in general, just felt much more agreeable to watch than Newman.
Yes.
So, like, naturally, I didn't like Newman that much just because she was so annoying as she was using her fallacies.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I had us watch it was basically so that we could come back when we learned about the fallacies and just kind of see how blatantly she asserts these fallacies. And if you look between the two of them, who was more agreeable and who was more disagreeable, there's no doubt she was more disagreeable. And look, it served her career well. And he points it out, like, look, you know, you're an anchor of this news in England. Yeah, so that has served you well. So once again, when it comes to this particular fallacy, there can be general rules, but there are almost always, notice I'm saying the word almost here, almost always some exception to those rules. And you need to take that into account before you make, before you simply presume a conclusion here. Okay, so with that, we've gone through the fallacies of presumption, and there are actually more, but these are the ones that we will be using to answer the questions on your worksheet, as well as before we get to the worksheet, we're going to be looking at a couple advertisements. And so I'm going to have you guys at this point go ahead and sign into to Slido. Let me make sure that that is the right. Yeah, okay. So there you go. Just make sure you use that one, not the other one, because I might have closed it out wrong. Bad last time. And so we've got complex question, circular reasoning, that's also known as begging the question, false cause, false dichotomy, could also be known as like false dilemma, and accident. So let's look at some of these and see what you guys think about them. All right, so I'm going to start with one that's going to be probably pretty obvious, and that's partially because it says what it is in the title. But you know what? Whatever. Let's watch this.
I'm the only good one.
Do you think you and Mommy did a good job raising me?
Of course we did.
Well, then you obviously taught me right from wrong.
True.
And you should trust me to do the right thing.
Wait.
Or you're a bad father. Take your pick.
Man, you're good.
Okay, so go ahead and on Slido, even though it kind of tells you what it is, but in order to get you to participate, what was that? Okay, so that was false dichotomy. Somebody explain to us, why was that a false dichotomy? What was the false dichotomy?
There were only two options presented.
Yeah, either you're a bad parent or you need to let me go do what I want to do. Right? And so, yeah, no, she wasn't that good. He was just an idiot, right? He was falling for the false dichotomy. Well, that was probably me. He was being fooled by his daughter. Sometimes it happens. Not that it's ever happened in your family, or has it? I'm sorry, Ian, but you are the only male here. Well, besides myself and the Pope.
What?
Don't worry about it. Let's watch another one and see what you guys think on this one. I've always found this commercial to be absolutely hilarious.
Oh, hey, Mike. Where are you up to?
Just diagramming this accident with my State Farm Pocket Agent app. You can also get a quote and pay your premium with this thing.
I thought State Farm didn't have all those apps.
Where'd you hear that?
The internet.
And you believed it?
Yeah. They can't put anything on the internet that isn't true.
Where'd you hear that? The internet.
Oh, look. Here comes my date. I met him on the internet. He's a French model.
Bonjour.
State Farm, more mobile than ever.
Okay, what fallacy was that? His French accent was as good as mine. Bonjour. Un, deux, trois. 14. All right, give me a thumbs up when you guys have voted. Okay, let's see what you put. Way to go, guys, circular reasoning. Emily, why was that circular reasoning?
Because like they claimed it, and then she's like, since the internet said it, then it's true. And then like she went back and said like the internet said it again, and then you met him on the internet. So it just kept kind of looping back to the internet.
Yep, that's exactly right. Kept looping back to the internet. Like anything the internet says is true, so you can believe it. And I heard this on the internet, also where she got that amazing date. Okay, let's try another one. This one actually comes to us from the Jordan debate, Jordan Peterson debate with Kathy Newman.
To be paid less, which women do a lot of.
But why shouldn't women have the right to choose not to have children, or the right to choose those demanding careers?
They do. They can.
Okay, so what was that? Why shouldn't women have the choice to choose not to have children? Yeah, so you guys are right. That was a complex question. By asking the question, she's trying to trap him into assuming that women shouldn't have that choice. And he was like, of course they should. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, let's watch another one. These ones are kind of funny. So I have to confess, I could choose either of these two. And I think they're both funny. They're both same advertising the same product, but I think they're both funny. So because we're going for some humor here as well, I'm gonna have to play them both. Okay, first one.
Fourth down, coach, what do we do?
I'll tell you what we do. I want you to go on the field, look for anything with an O. Let's kill them with kindness. Jimmy, I want you to make balloon animals. Tyler, make little tea cozy, something fun.
Are you okay?
We will win this for Mother Russia!
Coach, eat a Snickers.
Why is that, Chief?
You get a little loopy when you're hungry. Better.
Now let's go, Mark!
Go get him, guys!
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfied.
All right, well, I see like 3 of you kind of smiled. Okay, well, if that one didn't do it for you, if you're not a Robin Williams fan, and I'm not really much of a Robin Williams fan, maybe this next one, because I love mob films. I love Joe Pesci, and I love Don Rickles. And so, and of course, you guys probably, maybe you're not mob movie fans, but in case you're wondering, so you definitely, if you've seen Home Alone, you've seen Joe Pesci as one of the 2 burglars trying to break in. He's the one that keeps sounding like he's about to say a swear word, but it's not. And then he's also kind of one of the people in the mob that always says a lot of words he probably shouldn't say, and then usually winds up dead. So let's go with this ad here, also for Snickers, and this one makes me laugh.
So you guys grew up together?
Yeah, since 3rd grade. What are you looking at?
I'm not looking at it.
We're not good enough for you. You look for something else?
No, I don't know.
What are you, big supermodels? Oh, Jesus! Supermodels! What do you model, gloves? What are you doing? The girl's totally into me.
Brad, eat a Snickers.
Why?
Because you get a little angry when you're hungry. Better?
Better. So, ladies.
So, losers.
Stacy, relax.
I'm sorry.
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers
I love Don
satisfies.
Rickles. Okay, so so go ahead. The fallacy is the same in both of those. So which fallacy is it? Go ahead and choose.
Distance has been on all of our minds.
Yeah, so go ahead and change your answer on the Slido. And then when you have that change, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Which fallacy was being expressed in both of those advertisements? I see that thumb. Okay. All right, there's Emily. All right, let's look. 78% false cause, complex question, and accident. For those of you who put false cause, you are correct. Eating a Snickers will not necessarily turn you from Joe Pesci back into yourself. Or from Robin Williams back into an amazing football coach. Okay, and so there you have it. Hopefully you found these fallacies to be things you're commonly experiencing in life and now can recognize those a little bit better. Obviously, I stopped the share with you. And so what you guys have now to have for homework, so hopefully you have your fallacies of relevance worksheet done already, because now we have more fallacies and more fallacies to like confuse you. So if you don't have that done, probably should get on that, fallacies of relevance. If you do, good, because now you can move on to the fallacies of presumption worksheet. A couple things about the fallacies of presumption worksheet though, before I let you guys go towards working on your homework, is it says in the directions, if you look at the directions of that particular worksheet, fallacies of presumption and the fallacies of ambiguity, which we'll be doing on Wednesday, says the same thing. It says that on a separate sheet of paper, you're supposed to answer which fallacy was represented in each of those 10 examples, and then also explain how the fallacy is used. I don't want you to do the second part. That'll take you a long, long time, take me a long, long time to grade. And so rather than you on a separate sheet of paper writing how the fallacy is involved, I want you instead to, on just the first sheet of paper, go ahead and write down which fallacy it is, and then be able to explain to the class why that fallacy is involved. So rather than writing it all down, just understand how the fallacy is involved and be able to explain it. And so that should make your homework a lot easier and also still accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, are there any questions or thoughts, concerns, hopes, dreams? We have no hopes, we have no dreams.
Nope, they're gone. 2020 destroyed them. They got thrown in.
We haven't had the presidential election yet. That's going to be fun.
Oh, what is that? I plan to move out of the country.
If we thought the protests were bad earlier, just wait.
What country? Oh.
I don't know.
Not Canada. Don't go to Canada.
I'm not saying what country you're going to go to. I'm just saying, if it all just goes slightly wrong, could be bad.
Yeah. You know what? They probably got somewhere in the middle of the country where no one is existing. And there's just.
Well, I have a, I'm pretty sure that, California might eventually say, okay, we don't want to be part of, if Donald Trump wins, maybe California will say independence. And if Joe Biden wins, maybe Wyoming will say independence. And let's face it, what are the Democrats going to do? Like attack Wyoming with granola and Priuses? That was bad. That was so bad. I'm so sorry. Don't get me wrong. I love granola and I love Priuses. They're both wonderful.
So are you a Democrat?
You know, I've got to be a Democrat. I'm not. No, I'm not saying what I am. I try to be as fair as I can. So when I make fun of Donald Trump for saying kind of mean things, and I always try to remind everyone that Joe Biden tends to be fighting with senility more than Donald Trump these days. That sort of thing. You know, try to keep it even keel and be equally critical. But sometimes it's hard. Hopefully, my my true views don't get out too much. But oh yeah, let me see. So what do you think, Celia? Do you think I am a Democrat? I'm not going to say. I'm just curious.
I don't know what I think. What you are? What?
You don't. So how many of you think I'm a Democrat? Let me see your hands. How many think that I'm a Republican?
I think either that or in the middle.
Or a what? A liberal?
No, like in the middle. Like
how many of you think I'm a moderate? Kind of in the middle.
Possibly.
Okay. How many think I'm like an uber conservative, Christina? Christina, how many do you think I'm a liberal?
No.
And I'm a moderate then.
Sure.
Okay. I don't know. I just wish I knew. I can't be too conservative. Look who's behind me. It's the hippie Pope. I mean, come on. All right, guys. That's all I have for you. If you have any questions as we wave goodbye, you can stay on and ask me the question after everyone goes. Otherwise, we'll see you on Wednesday.
What?
Peace out.